Welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the program, and it is show number 139. Happy to be on with you back here live on Facebook, head into iTunes. Certainly proud to be a member of the Education Podcast Network, Voice Ed Radio Canada, and many of our other friends that share out the program. Happy for all those opportunities. Show number 139, everybody. Let's get started. Great to be with you. I am interviewing today a Port Jervis graduate. Sydney Sauschuck is going to join us momentarily from the University of Iowa, way out there in the Midwest. And she's had some journey. I'm so proud of her. Her family's so proud of her. All of us at Port Jervis so proud of her, of what she's doing. So we're going to meet Sydney in a moment. She is a University of Iowa senior, communications major, and doing great things. I want to thank today's sponsor. Sydney, I'm going to have to send you some out there. Halvesies Cookies. We broke some open this weekend. There is a discount there, Murata 15. But if you need to ship a gift, if you have a kid in college like Sydney, and you need to share out a gift to her or send a gift to your college kid out there, right? They always like food. Halvesies Cookies. David Maffei, the owner, packages them, vacuum sealed, and sends them out. Use this discount code, Murata15. You will get a discount there. They're fantastic, and I know the girls at the University of Iowa will appreciate them. So, Sydney, they're coming to you from Education, Leadership, Beyond. So today's topic to kick off the podcast is, we as educators, we're planting seeds and watching them grow, right? We as parents planting seeds and watching them grow. And I remember Sydney, 8 years ago, right? A shy young lady, didn't say much in the hallways, but always very academically sound, always doing good things in class. And then here's this young lady in the gym at the wrestling program in Port Jervis, right? Port Jervis has a historically excellent wrestling program, long-standing tradition. But here's this young lady, involved, doing things. And those seasons that Sydney was involved, they had excellent programs. And Sydney was an integral part of that. Their success, helping do all of the behind-the-scenes programming. And then she goes off to one of the best programs in the country. I'm sure she's going to tell us it's the best college program in the country. And she's flourishing. She's doing great things, which I can't wait to ask her about. So there's no bonuses in education, right? There's no bonuses when you're a parent. And I'm hoping her parents are watching here. If they are, Ms. Sauschuck, Mr. Sauschuck, you could say hello on the chat. But this is a bonus, right? To watch these seeds grow and flourish. And she has such a bright future in front of her. But to know that, Port Jervis had a small part in that, and she's going to share some of her mentors here, as well as, all that her parents and her family has done for her along the way. It's an honor to have Sydney Sauschuck on. Let's bring her in here, and let's learn about these seeds. Let's see about these seeds growing. And here she is from the University of Iowa. Sydney, welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it is an honor for you to be on. This is Sydney Sauschuck, everyone. She is a senior at University of Iowa. She's a Port Jervis grad, and she is a manager on the famous Iowa wrestling program. Sydney, welcome, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Definitely. I've been looking forward to it since you asked.
Yeah. And what did you think of the opening comment, Sydney, about, those seeds and you growing and all the good things that you're doing out there? What was your take on the opening segment?
I couldn't agree more. It's funny that that's kind of the opening concept that that you introduced, just because I remember my senior year of high school, Mr. Stellato was my guidance counselor, and I was consistently in and out of his office trying to figure out, what my next steps were post high school. And I remember my mom shared with me, I'm pretty sure that he had emailed her, kind of just saying that she creates opportunity for herself. And, I try to be as humble as I can be, but, I was fairly confident in what I wanted to do. And I wasn't really afraid to, I want to be a woman in the world of wrestling and that kind of thing. So of, capitalizing on opportunities when they're presented. I guess one of my things I like to say is like, I hope you answer the door when opportunity knocks. So that's something that I try, to live out pretty much every day.
Well, and you're showing us that, Sydney, and you're again, not only showing your hometown, but you're showing a lot of young women there that there are no barriers for those that want to knock them down. And we're rooting for you here in Port. But tell me how's it going for you? Your senior year, certainly it's different than it's ever been, but how are things for you at this time of the year of your senior year at University of Iowa?
The word that comes to mind is different. Everyone always tells you, your senior year of high school and your senior year of college are like two of the best years of your life. And, that looks really different right now as far as classes and, just life in general. So currently I'm in my fall semester at Iowa and all of my classes are online. So I'm pretty much cooped up in my apartment. Fortunately, I live with my best friend, Shannon, so that makes it all worthwhile. But yeah, it's just like, you're still held to the same standards as far as, academics and things like that. So it's just, I guess I could say I'm just grateful that we had that transition last, spring semester to, the virtual world of education, I guess you can say. So, it was kind of just piggybacking off of what we've already had to adjust to, once COVID hit last March.
And I know you don't have a crystal ball. Do you think there's going to be a wrestling season? I know you're hoping there is one, but I know the Big Ten is in flux right now with football. What's been the word about wrestling so far?
Don't know much. Kind of just trying to remain as hopeful and prayerful as possible. Just don't want to jinx anything and kind of just remaining hopeful, waiting for direction and things like that. So as far as now, we can all rally together and hope that we do get a season that these guys absolutely deserve, all across the country, not just my school. But that's kind of been where I'm at with it and have been with it for a while. Since Nationals was canceled last year, we were supposed to head up to Minneapolis and wrestle in the Vikings NFL stadium up there. And then that kind of, so then everything kind of just has been the same since, as far as, what's going on, what's next, that type of stuff.
And I know there's a number of family and friends watching. Don't be shy if you want to leave a comment or question for Sydney or I here. Sydney, let's walk us back. How did you get involved in Port Jervis wrestling? Like, where did that start from? And what was it that brought you in?
That's a good question. It's sometimes my favorite question. It's funny. Usually people always ask me like, oh, was your dad a wrestler? No. He, if I'm remembering correctly, he wrestled for the first time when he was in middle school, won the tournament, and never stepped back on the mat again. So, he was more into football and baseball, but fortunately his older brother, my Uncle Jimmy, was, pretty much a standout for Port Jervis wrestling during the 80s, and I owe probably everything to him, just like he, once, high school, it was over and stuff like that, he kind of got into a coaching position with the Tri-State Youth Wrestling Club that still, holds a presence in the Tri-State area. And he had a son of his own, Brett, who I got to grow up, going everywhere to watch him compete. And I was just like proudest little cousin ever that there ever has been, in the world of wrestling. Like, I always loved, I didn't care if we were up at 5:45 a.m. driving to Albany or, Suffern or wherever he had a tournament, Newburgh. And I fell in love with everything about it. I mean, I've been on the mats probably since I was 3 or 4, I think, is the first picture I saw of myself kind of just around the room and stuff like that. So my uncle never shied away from, bringing me to a tournament or a duel. And fortunately, my dad is very invested, and my mom and my aunt Denise. So, kind of just growing up in that wrestling atmosphere was, pretty much how I was introduced to it. And then I just never wanted to step away from it. So when I got to high school. So Brett had graduated when I was in 7th grade. So it was up to my brother, to kind of, for Brett to pass torch, and Carson seemed to be glued to basketball. So I was like, oh no, like, is he the last stop on the Sauschuck wrestling train? Like, what's going on? So one day when Carson came home from school, he told us that he had signed up for wrestling. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like, it was like one of the best days ever. So I was like, okay, now I have a purpose again. I get to go, and he's my younger brother. So I was, I like to call him my prodigy, even though I really didn't do much, but I was just so over the moon that he wanted to wrestle. So my 9th grade year, I approached Coach Hartman, and I was just like, look, like, he was my 5th grade teacher too. So I was like, how much I love wrestling, and I'd really like to, contribute in any way that I can. And he was like, okay, like, take it away. And at that time I was doing it with 2 of my best friends at home, Amanda Sexton and Erin Fahey. So we kind of it just became a huge part of our lives. And then I stuck with it throughout all 4 years of high school. And Amanda and I ended up winning Scorekeepers of the Year our senior year out of the entire Section 9, community. So that's my wrestling story in short.
And you said here on the mats, I wrote it down. Like, did you ever want to like tangle with somebody in there? Was it the competition? What was it about the wrestling that got you roped in that you wanted to be part of it?
I mean, everything. It's funny you say that, because I wanted to wrestle like so badly, like that. I felt like in my bones that I could really do it and be good at it. But I don't think my parents were too in favor of that. I do remember jokingly asking Mr. Hartman here and there, like, hey, like, chances you let me come out for the team, like, and he's, I don't know how apt he was to that idea, but I certainly was. But obviously that never, came to fruition. But pretty much every day I wish that I would have, given it a try. I guess I just had a different fate in the world of wrestling, just in another capacity,
Yeah, because we're starting to see some really talented young ladies now, specifically in Port Jervis. There is a young lady that is doing exceptionally well. So how about you now, Sydney? You're involved with one of the best programs in the country. What are some things, that you've learned there through wrestling? What are some leadership lessons that you're going to take away when you graduate from Iowa, this spring?
I'd say the number one thing that comes to mind is a quote from our coaching staff, which is, you get what you earn. So, the number one thing that I'm so proud of is the type of people that I'm surrounded with here, within our program. It's just like everyone is committed to this, pursuit of excellence. And it's just like, I'm not on the mat competing like some of our guys are, but it's, I still am inspired to, do good just in a different way. It's just like you're surrounded by world-class athletes and staff every single day. And it's just like, you just feel this fire to be better and do better every day. And like every time I go in the room, every time we have a duel in the arena, or any arena for that matter, you just feel this sense of like pride and sense of like, just, I want to do something well with my life. And it's just, I really think it's just that, you're working hard every single day, you're aspiring to be, be and do great things. And when you're around 50 people who are on that same mission as you, it's really refreshing and encouraging.
And are there other women involved in the program, or are you kind of on your own there as well?
No, so there are so many. Fortunately, a lot of my friends are also managers. We're all managers, so we're all, in the same boat as far as like duties and stuff like that. And some really exciting news is last year was our first season with a female director of operations, my friend Mariah. So she was hired. She served as a manager during her time at Iowa, and now she has that position. So, it's like really, really cool to see, women in the sport in that capacity. We also have a post-collegiate club here, the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, and we had a few women a part of that for a while. So it was really cool to see, you know, a handful of women in the room chasing their Olympic dreams, you know, world and Olympic dreams as well.
And we're seeing women coaches in the NFL, in the NBA, and it's great to hear, again, in leadership positions at Division I schools, and not just, you know, Division I, but Big Ten schools. So how about you, Sydney? You're going to graduate this spring. You 4 years, you're getting your degree in communications and sports. Where do you see yourself going?
I really hope to be in wrestling still, whatever that looks like, you know. I really loved my time at USA Wrestling. Currently, I'm working with Beat the Streets National, which is another nonprofit wrestling organization. And should I not, you know, pursue anything with those organizations, I would definitely look for any director of operations positions at any division, you know, wrestling program who are looking for those type of administrative roles. Sometimes I toss around the idea of, you know, pursuing law school and politics, but mostly I have my heart set on being in wrestling. So hopefully that works out for me.
And you got to chase your passions, and hopefully when they're considering hiring you down the road somewhere, they'll find this podcast and see all the great things you're doing. And again, a number of friends and family watching from back home. So proud of the work you're doing. Sydney, you came from an exceptional program, Port Jervis, right? Historic. We have, you know, the Bannock brothers, University of Iowa, and again, a traditional powerhouse. What are some comparisons that you've seen coming from a great high school wrestling program and going to a great Iowa program, again, nationally known? You know, what are some similarities that you kind of saw, like, oh, yeah, the kids at Port did that?
Well, our first thing in common, like you just said, are the Bannock brothers. So Ed, Lou, and Steve all competed for Port Jervis and then eventually pursued athletic careers at the Division I level. So Ed and Lou started at Iowa, and I believe Steve started at Clemson and then transferred to Iowa, or started at Iowa and then transferred to Clemson. I'm pretty sure it's one of those two. So it was, you know, you just see the Bannock name everywhere in Port, you know, when you're driving into Port Jervis. In our arena, you know, our gymnasium, there's, you know, Ed and Lou Bannock Arena, and kind of just little bits and pieces of this Iowa life. And when I was in middle school, I was like, what is Iowa? Where is Iowa? Like, someone tell me about Iowa. And I like used to jokingly say to like my parents and like my best friend's parents, I'm like, I'm going to move to Iowa and like marry a farmer and all this crazy dream things. But the number one thing was like the Bannock brothers, like to see that they came from small town, you know, USA, let alone small town New York, and were able to accomplish things people only dream of, you know? So it was just this, like, I kind of wanted to follow in their footsteps almost. So when I got to Port and things like that, it was just this sense of tradition, you know, Mr. Hartman, that, you know, and Coach Foley and Coach Ferguson as well. They want to keep that Bannock spirit alive, like what the gym was like when they were competing and about to, you know, embark on their Iowa journeys and stuff like that. So when I came to Iowa, you know, it's magnified here because it's a collegiate program, but it's still that same sense of like pride, sense of tradition, you know. While it's a huge type of thing, it's still very like, you know, still very sentimental, still very personal, things like that. So everything has, you know, a connection, a story. So hopefully that answered your question. It may not have, but it's kind of a rabbit hole of greatness, I guess you can say.
Yeah. Well, pick one. Pick a tradition. You know, right? A famous tradition. Notre Dame, they hit the "Play Like a Champion" sign and the Golden Dome. Right, those are some famous traditions. Right, Penn State. I know they have the Nittany Lion where people gather. Like, what's a tradition at Iowa that when you got there, we're like, wow, that's really cool?
I would have to say outside of wrestling is our wave. You know, I don't know if you've seen it on any of the sports channels, but my freshman year, I'm pretty sure, is when that came to life. So I was at the football game, and at the end of the first quarter, we all turned to the University of Iowa Children's Hospital, and we all waved to the, you know, the children who are ultimately in the fight for their lives. And it's just like, it's just breathtaking, really. I mean, I never had felt something so like, I can't even describe it. It was just like, you were just in awe. What is that? Almost 80,000 people, pausing for a minute, looking to these children, just like, who are experiencing things that I can't even imagine. It's just like, you just reflect for a minute, like, wow, like this is their life and this is mine. And it's just, you start to value things differently. And so I would have to say our wave, that's become, I think, and I know most can attest to, is like one of the best traditions in, in college sports, but also I think in sports in general.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful story. I'm going to have to Google that. I haven't seen it, but I will look for that. That's beautiful. Sydney, you mentioned world-class athletes, top, the best of the best, right? So what would you tell kids in our area or any younger kid that might be watching this? What are some things that they should be doing to get to that level? What are some things that you see those athletes doing there that are already there, that our younger kids in Port Jervis and beyond could be doing to try to get to, whether it's a University of Iowa or even like Mr. Kmar started, right? SUNY Sullivan wrestling. Maybe that's their best level. But what are some things that kids could be doing to get to that level?
I would say the number one thing is accountability, holding yourself accountable and making sure that you're consistently doing the right things the right way. My number one thing that I grew up with was my parents tried to instill us is like a sense of integrity and like being, and embodying that attribute, just because, if you say you want something, say you want to be a national champion in any sport, how are you going to get there? It's not going to be doing the wrong things, So it's just this idea of, you can create your goals and chase them fiercely, but at the same time, you need to be doing the right things the right way. Like I said, it's just this, because ultimately how how you're successful with obtaining them or not is completely reliant on you and what you've done. Did you do your best? Did you do enough? Those type of things. So I think that's what I've tried to emulate myself, just being surrounded by these type of people. It's just like they're always chasing, the next best thing, or, and it's a fight. You need to make sure that you're holding yourself accountable, that you're being responsible, all those great things that a coach tries to instill in their athletes, and, just living that out every day. And especially I was an athlete in Port Jervis. I had the best coach ever, and when she passed away, that was just like, you're like lost for a minute, but you're like, okay, well, what would she want me to do? How would she want me to respond to this? And, so it's just, that accountability, like you need to do better for yourself, for people around you, because ultimately you'll be a role model, hopefully, for someone else in your future. And that's not saying that you won't make mistakes and things like that, but that you're learning from them and you're moving forward, like consistently moving forward, I guess you can say. It's just, always doing what's right and always doing your best.
Very well said, Sydney. And people are following you and watching the work you're doing, and very proud of you, as many people wrote in here. You mentioned Coach McCarthy, right? Luann, God bless her soul. You had some other great mentors in Port Jervis that had a profound impact on you. Who were some of those people, and what were some of the lessons they taught you?
Yeah, so in the education realm, I would definitely have to shout out Mr. Mike Sauschuck. He was my algebra teacher freshman year at Port, and he was the first teacher who like really, really, truly went above and beyond for me in like every aspect. He knew that I struggled with math. I was not the best math student, but that didn't mean that I didn't try. I mean, I worked my butt off every single day after school with him, trying to retain even the simplest, arithmetic ideas and stuff like that. And it was just, I had never felt like so, valued as a student. Just he knew math, and it's not even math. It's just, there was a lesson within all that, just like you are capable of doing anything that you set your mind to. You work at it. It's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. If you're going to sit here and lollygag for 45 minutes, like you're obviously probably not going to get an A. on your and it did work out for me, and I still remember him to this day, and we still keep in touch, and I will tell him until my last day that he is, one of the main reasons that I have been able to overcome some of those. And ultimately it was like self-esteem issues, it's just like, I don't feel like I can do this. But when you have someone who has done it and is now successful in that field, and who may have been there himself, was just telling me that you can do it, but you need to work at it. So I would definitely say Mr. Sauschuck. And then in more of my personal life, I would have to say my priest. I'm very strong in my faith and stuff, and in my conviction. So just having someone who I can look up to, and someone who loves me for me and is able to share different perspectives, more of like my spirit, very, very helpful. And I'm able to call in happy moments, sad moments, moments of triumph, moments of grief, different things like that. It's just, and he also holds me accountable to, making sure that I'm always, keeping on the straight and narrow and staying, true to myself, stuff like that.
I like that you use the word lollygag too. You're dating yourself using the word lollygag, but I wonder if that came from Sauschuck.
Probably.
Yeah, Sydney, that's great. You're also, right, you're doing great things academically, the wrestling program, but you write a blog too. I can't wait. I'm going to start following you with that. Tell me about the blog. How do people find it, and where do you get the inspiration for that?
Yeah, so when I got to Iowa, one of the best friends that I've made here, she already had one, and she kept up with it in high school, I'm pretty sure. So I was like intrigued, like, okay, I just moved 14 hours away from home. There is not a single soul I know out here. Like, how am I going to be able to regularly update the masses, for lack of a better term? So I kind of just sat down one day in my residence hall lobby, and I just created the blog. So I just started updating, on my sports experiences through mostly wrestling and football. And then, kind of my spiritual path here, if I was able to find a church, and like the friendships I've made through, the parishes here and things like that. And then kind of just overall growth. I was kind of on a mission once I moved here to find my purpose, and, and I had to do that through like complete independence. So it's been a way for me to discover myself, I guess you can say, and not just what I've done, but just like, digging deep into who I am and things like that. And that's that for anyone interested. It's www.sydneysauschuk.wordpress.com. So I'll put that in the chat if you'd like, for anyone who's interested.
Do that. And we're gonna check that out, and I'm gonna invite you to be a guest writer on my blog. I would love for you to share, and hopefully I could get on yours. But that's awesome that you're doing that. Sid, again, coming from Port Jervis, a small town, and you go into a huge place. A lot of our students, they're not successful when they go to a big place, right? It's overwhelming, and then they wind up back home, right? Or maybe it wasn't the right fit. You went there and flourished. But what were some of the challenges that you faced? We have a lot of new kids now, graduates that are first year colleges. What were some challenges that were hard for you?
I think just being away from everything I have absolutely ever known, and not knowing anything out here was just really, I wouldn't really say burdensome, but sometimes it here, but then things, start settling in. You're like, okay, like I'm away from my best friends. I'm away from my siblings. I'm away from my grandma. Just like little, and like, oh, I'm sad. I miss my family and stuff like that. Like I have been there consistently, probably once a week. But you learn to just kind of overcome that, and there's more out there to experience. Like your family's always going to be your family, and and it's things that I get to come home to Port Jervis. I get to go wherever I want in this world, but at the end of the day, Port Jervis is still this idea that we talk about it. Just like Port is always going to be there. Your family, for them, stay living. You're able to bring, going to be there for you. So something else that was really hard to manage, like semester at Iowa, my really difficult and kind of and stuff like that. It's just like, it's your first time being alone, dealing with big things, and you're an adult and learn how to go with these challenges and different kinds of adversity, and it's just you just learn to learn to do it, I guess.
We lost you a little bit, Sydney, and your sister's busting chops on you that you were breaking up. Give me a refresh on your computer. Maybe it'll zip back. You want to try to give me a refresh? We lost you. Maybe all your classmates are on the Wi-Fi at the same time. How about now? You okay?
Am I good now?
And even busting shots.
I'm good. Are you good?
Why don't you hit that? You're good. You're good. Okay. And hi, Riley. Good to see you. Sydney, let's get to rapid fire. And before we do that, was there anything else you wanted to share? You said a lot of great things here, but there's a lot of educators that watch. Is there anything else you wanted to share? Oh, I hope we didn't lose you. Well, I hope she's going to come back. She disconnected and she's coming back. Hey, Mr. Chuck, good to see you. Hope my friend is well there. And I appreciate you guys watching. But we are very proud of what Sydney's doing. Again, coming from Port Jervis, going out to Iowa. Like she said, she didn't know anybody out there and just has done a really great job. She's coming back in now. Let's get her in here. This is the danger of doing live podcasting. Let's try you back in, Sydney. There you are. You're back.
Oh, hallelujah.
Good. Good.
Made it.
I was saying, Sydney, was there anything else you wanted to share before we got to rapid fire?
I feel like I've touched on most of the points I wanted to address, but I guess it's just, the number one thing, if people could take away from me as a person and, this podcast here is just like, always believe in yourself. If you've got crazy goals, that's okay. Face them. There's nothing wrong. No dream is too big. My mom always likes marching forward and doing what you love is really, really important, I think.
Well, you're showing us that, and you have big dreams, and you're living them, and you're going to keep going. We know you're going to land somewhere great. We know this is going to work out for you. And when you're in a big-time spot, I want you to make sure you look back and don't forget us at Port Jervis.
I could never.
All right, Sydney, let's get to it. Rapid fire. I know you got a lot of studying to do out there. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Last book you read?
Anthony Robles' Unstoppable: From Underdog to Undefeated.
Nice. Last movie you saw?
Rocky IV.
You like the Rocky. I see the poster there. What is it about Rocky that got your attention?
It was just like a couple of the movies that my dad always kind of watched with me when I was younger, and I love them. Rocky IV is my favorite of them all. My roommate Shannon, she had never seen it, so I had to bless her life with some Rocky IV.
I must break you. Love it.
And I don't know. Exactly.
The soundtrack
That's
is
what
the soundtrack's one of my favorites.
I'm actually doing a project on the training montage scene with the song by John Cafferty. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Might be a future blog. Your favorite place to travel?
Probably Colorado Springs specifically.
Your favorite place to travel on the road with Iowa wrestling?
I love home. New Jersey people love sports. You know, they're just in your face, and I live for that. So it was cool for my friends from Iowa to kind of see a little glimpse of what the Beast Coast is like.
Beast Coast, nice. Iowa wrestling is fill in the blank.
Iowa wrestling is incredible. I mean, I know it's pretty simple, but I mean, just everything about it has made me a better person in every possible way, and I'm just very, very grateful for the opportunities that I've had because of it.
And the opportunities you've created too. You shared a lot of your passions, a lot of things that motivate you. What is something that gets under your skin? What's a pet peeve of yours?
The number one thing that grinds my gears when I sneeze at her. I don't know what it is, but it drives me nuts.
I missed what you said. You got broken up there. I heard grind my gears. What grinds your gears? Say it again.
When I sneeze and someone doesn't say bless you or God bless you for that matter. I don't know what it is, but it just lights a fire in me and I just can't overcome it. I don't know what it is. But that is probably my if that's what?
If that's intensive during COVID time here.
Oh, well, I don't do too much of that right now. But
yeah.
Outside of COVID, definitely the number one thing that gets under my skin.
I can tell an athlete is a great wrestler when I see, and you fill in the blank.
Cauliflower ear. No, but on a real note, I'd have to say probably you. Good grief. I think it's just one of the things that I really find, not even just impressive, but just refreshing is when someone's just very humble. They can be the best in the world. And if they have a good, good attitude, good sportsmanship, good sense of self, I think that's very, I find, what sets, someone from the very best, So.
Nice answer. Have you been to the Field of Dreams?
I have not, and I need to. I heard that the Yankees and the Dodgers, correct me if I'm wrong out there for that, but I'm too far from it, so I should probably, maybe my roommate and I will take this is Iowa.
You need to go. You need to go to the Field of Dreams. It's on my list. They were supposed to play there, and they were canceled. So, a famous food from your area that we wouldn't know here on the East Coast.
A famous food. I would have to say this cheese curd phenomenon. I mean, all these Westerners, especially. My friends from Wisconsin, and there's just cheese gusting or ranch for that matter. But yeah, I would have to go with cheese curds or twice baked potatoes, which I don't know much about.
I have to agree with you. I don't want to offend anybody, but I find the cheese curds disgusting. Yes. Riley, Sydney, you're doing great stuff. I believe we all have a book in us, and yours is not written yet. but what would be the title of your book?
I would have to go with Grappling for My Own Gold. I would think that would be my title.
I like it. Something about Sydney Sauschuck that people do not know about.
Oh, I'd have to say that I'm a huge metal fan. I can thank my dad and my uncle for that. I love all kinds of metal, screamo, just your general 80s metal, Metallica, the whole 9 yards. I could bang my head before I could ride a bike. Let's just put it that way.
Wow. Living in Iowa, fill in the blank.
Living in Iowa is a treat. It's just, you go from fast-paced New York life. Not that Port Jervis is as aggressive as New York City, but you come here and people are taking 5 minutes at the stop sign to let you go, where we're used to, all right, I'm going, bye, like that type of thing. And I'd say the driving, Iowa driving is just, I can't. But you know what? I digress. It's fine.
I loved your quote about Iowa wrestling. You get what you earn. How about a quote to end the program here, Sydney?
I would have to go with my boss from USA Wrestling, Steve Frazier. He is the first gold medalist in Greco-Roman wrestling, and he has written a book. And the chapter, A Little Extra, is my favorite. And he ends the chapter with, "Happy are those who go for the gusto in life, for they will look back someday with no regrets." And I think that really is another driving force in my life. So I would have to say that.
What a great way to end. That was awesome. Sydney, if people want to get in touch with you, right? Again, you're inspiring people, young and old. I'm your former principal and you're inspiring me. So I appreciate it. How can people get in touch with you?
I am on every social media platform you can possibly think of, Sydney Sauschuck. And my blog too. Am I able to comment in the chat here? Just maybe not, but yeah. I can definitely.
And you could follow up with that afterwards. And when we put this out, Sydney, we'll make sure, and certainly you can retweet it. But when I put it out again, the show, you put it on there. But I think you could do it afterwards. All right. Sydney, you stay on the line a second. We're going to cue up this music. This was Sydney Sauschuck here, everyone.
That works for me.
We appreciate her very much. This was show number 139 here on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. You can follow Sydney at Sydney Sauschuck on all the social medias. And again, she's a University of Iowa senior. We wish you the best this year, Sydney.
Thank you so much. Oh, and I think my sister, she hooked me up and put the link in the comment section. So there you go.
Way to go, Riley. All right, you stay on the line, Sydney. We're going to cue up this music. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. This is Riley. I can say Riley, Sydney. And we appreciate Sydney being on. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. And we will see you all soon.